too much conversation about black women, too much conversation about who black men should date, too much conversation about 5'5", thick in the thighs. Just shut up and deal with it. So you watch his rise, you want to root for this guy. So let's focus on the subject at hand and stop worrying about snow bunnies. Why is that so important when you're somebody who's trying to build a school? You know, I've never been the type to pick on someone just because it's the cool thing to do. Just never cared for it. I can pretty much make up my own mind, make my own decisions. But damn it, this Dr. Umar Johnson situation is really mind-blowing to me. I've been following him, I'd say, around 10 years. About 2015 is when I first caught wind of who he was. And I'm always going to be a proponent of a black male figure who can command a room, speak with intelligence, articulate his words accordingly. I'm always going to support that type of individual. I want to see more black male scholars than I want to see entertainers and rappers and things that we think, not me, but we societal wise think are cool. You know, I don't like to hear my rappers speak with a second grade, education. I don't like to see my sports broadcasters speak like they never stepped foot in a high school or middle school. But because they played the sport, they get a high six-figure earning gig. Meanwhile, you have guys out here, just who live in school, live in their books, speak well, carry themselves professionally, and can't find their way in that lane. So I'm always going to be a proponent, a fan, a supporter of anyone, black in particular, who carries themselves on a higher level. Again, doesn't mean you have to be an uppity person or Uncle Tom. I'm not asking for that. But I'm always going to support those who speak well. Now, Dr. Umar Johnson has his flaws. We know this. I'm not trying to paint some rosy picture of an individual I don't know anything about, aside from what he's presented us. But when he first introduced this whole Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey, FDMG Academy School, I smiled. Finally, there's somebody out here who really wants to see the black youth excel, who wants them in their books and wants them to become something other than an entertainer. And it was a good thing to see. He's not a celebrity, or he wasn't at that time. He was a local figure. Based on his credentials, it appeared that he was a high scholar individual. Still could very well be, I don't know. But it just felt good to see, and I was hoping he got a lot of support. And it seemed like there were people, as his name traveled, it seemed like there were people secretly and openly supporting his cause. We fast forward 10 years later, and this has become a mess. Now, the first thing Dr. Umar Johnson apologists say is, I don't see you building a school. What have you done? It's as if, people can't be disappointed with the lack of progression a decade later. People are allowed to be upset, especially those donors, people who have given him money throughout the years and were hoping to see something. And as we look at this year, 2025, and just the summer alone, and the events, the episodes involving young black youth, I'm not saying that Dr. Umar Johnson's school is the cure for poor black behavior, but it's a start. I feel like he means well, but his delivery is a little shaky. And again, he's under attack. He's claiming that his bank accounts have been frozen, yada, yada, yada. There's a lot going on. There's too much discussion involving who black men should date and not enough discussion about the school and the youth. All this snow bunnies never rhetoric, is getting old now. It's just getting old. People are allowed to date who they want. There are times I want to applaud Umar because, again, he seems to be the lone voice, at least the loudest voice in the room, but the lone voice and speaking on the importance of keeping things within the community and black love and black youth in general. But again, There's too much dialogue about who the black entertainer or black male should and shouldn't date. There's just too much. You know, like, let's focus on one thing at a time. You've set yourself up now to become like the laughingstock. Let's be honest. Oh my gosh. What the f are you doing? You either going which way are you going? Dr. Umar Johnson's a big boy. He doesn't need anybody fighting his battles. But let's focus on the subject at hand and stop worrying about snow bunnies. Why is that so important? Why is that so important when you're somebody who's trying to build a school? You know, we have to take baby steps. We can't keep worrying about things that are out of our control. You can't control who a multi-millionaire dates. Because a lot of these multi-millionaire black men couldn't get certain women coming up. Their looks weren't up to par. Their money wasn't up to par. And so they have the money and they have the liberty now to do as they please. So we can't worry about who this basketball player is dating and who this football player is dating. Who cares? Who really cares? Seriously, if you're trying to build a school, if you are the unofficial spokesperson for blacks in this country, or Africans, or however he likes to, you know, phrase things, focus on one thing at a time. Once you get that school going and those students are growing up under the tutelage of your teachers and your knowledge, then we can cross over. Then we can try to maybe get into the minds of, you know, the Gen Zers. I don't know. We're focused too much on guys with money who have the liberty to date whomever they please. You know, because Umar's not worried about Tyrone down the street messing with Becky. He's not worried about that because Tyrone is not really on the radar. Tyrone works a 9 to 5 and that's that. He's focused on those with money. Again, you got to take baby steps. Get the school figured out. And the toughest thing about watching Dr. Umar Johnson right now is, you know, his sensitivity. His sensitivity levels can't be spiked when he's out here on the forefront as the lone spokesperson for this fdmg school. He's got to keep his temperament in check because he asked for this. He put himself in the limelight. He put those shoes on and said, I'm going to be the guy, the one who takes the black culture under my wing. That was him. And I applaud him because, again, I mean, unfortunately, black folks seem to always need a leader. You know, we just, historically in this country, we've always had to have a mouthpiece. I don't particularly agree with that concept, but Umar Johnson said, you know what? I'm going to be the one. So when you do that, you have to be willing and able to take all ridicule coming your way. And Umar has basically answered the same questions for 10 years and has given the same responses. And I know it can't be easy doing something like this, a project like this by yourself. There's so much red tape involved and just, you know, people just trying to undermine you and things of that nature. But when you have made X amount of dollars for 10 years with nothing to show for it, people are going to start talking. Personally, I'm not worried about whether the school is going to get built or not. I'm not losing sleep over it. I want to see this guy win because I watched his growth over the last 10 years. Then doing speaking engagements and you know, at little conference halls and then moving on to schools and colleges and you know, then, you know, appearing on the Breakfast Club and other major platforms. So you watch his rise, you want to root for this guy, especially if you feel deep down that they mean well, the person means well. You want to support. You don't naturally want to hate on a person like this. But all the jabs about women, you know, and their natural hair color and worrying about who a black man dates, leave that out of this. If you have to hire a black woman with a wig who's degreed out her ass and can teach your young boys and girls English or math, just shut up and deal with it. You're not dating her. You're not. You know what I mean? So what? She co-signed the Eurocentric look. She is a scholar teaching in your school, helping your children advance in life. Eat that. Deal with it. You know, if you're dating somebody and you have a preference, cool. I'm all for preferences. I'm all for it. But I think Umar Johnson is just caught up in his own celebrity right now, and he has to mellow out. He has to lay low. He has to reappear in front of the school one of these Septembers, cutting that tape in front of the, you know, mayor and governor and opening the school. That's the next time I need to see Umar. I don't need to see him anytime else. I don't need to see him on anyone's platform. I don't need to see any more IG posts. Lay low, get your money right, get your funds right. You know, explain where the funds are going to those who have donated. Find their emails and just send them a generic statement. Because we don't need to know. I don't need to know. I didn't donate. So the people that didn't donate don't need to be in the business. But those who donated, who feel fleeced right now, Umar owes them. He owes them some kind of explanation. Because it's hard to not think that your money, your hard-earned money, isn't supporting his lifestyle. It's hard not to think that. So again, I want to see this man win. I don't like that people build channels off of his name. I think that's lame. That people can have channels dedicated on Dr. Umar Johnson. Like, you got to have a better life than that. You just have to. I don't care how popular the platform is. You can't just make videos of one person day after day after day. What? So I don't want anybody watching this thing and there's hate towards Umar. There's no hate. I want to see this man win, but it's hard not to think that he isn't fleecing people. It's hard not to think that. Too much conversation about black women, too much conversation about who black men should date, too much conversation about, 5'5" thick in the thighs, too much conversation about everything else but the damn school. And I know he's probably tired of answering the same questions over and over and over. And, some of you media outlets need to do your homework and stop asking the same questions. Reword the questions maybe. Throw him off a little bit, so he doesn't have to repeat things 3 times and all that stuff. Throw him off. Maybe change your approach. But it's been tough to watch. It's been tough to watch because he's been the one voice, at least public voice. There could be somebody behind the scenes who's doing the exact same work as Umar, who doesn't want the spotlight. Since he's put himself in the public's eye, intentionally, he's got to be able to deal with the criticisms that come his way. It's a part of the game. Simple as that.